Hi, fifth graders. Just like we can model decimal addition, we can also model decimal subtraction. And again, we can do this using base 10 blocks. So let's take a look at a couple examples of how using base 10 blocks can help us to subtract. So for example, let's say I had the problem 5 and 38 hundredths minus 1 and 23 hundredths. First, I'm going to model the greater value on my page. So in this case, 5 and 38 hundredths is greater than 1 and 23 hundredths. So I'm going to model 5 and 38 hundredths. And I did that with 5 yellow flats, 3 blue rods for the 3 tenths, and finally 8 hundredths cubes for the 8 hundredths. Then, a little different than addition, now instead of also modeling 1 and 23 hundredths, I'm going to start with the least place value position and cross off the pieces that we're subtracting. So for example, the least place value position in both of these numbers is the hundredths place. I know from 1 and 23 hundredths that I need to take away or subtract 3 hundredths from the model on my paper. So I'm going to cross out 3 of the actual hundredths cubes. Finally, I'll keep doing this until all the place value positions have been used. So now I need to move to the next smallest place value position, which is the tenths place. Since I have the digit 2 in the tenths place, I'll cross out 2 tenths rods. And finally, I need to cross out 1 whole amount or 1 yellow flat. So the amount that's left over after I've crossed off or moved all those pieces is my difference. In this case, I have 4 flats to represent 4 wholes, 1 tenths rod, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundredths cubes left. So my difference in this particular question is 4 and 15 hundredths. Let's take a look at a couple more examples using the blocks. Okay, so modeling decimal subtraction with base 10 blocks works very similar to addition. Like we said, the only difference is we're only going to be modeling the top or the first number in our subtraction problem. So if I have 4 and 65 hundredths minus 1 and 31 hundredths, that means I'm going to start by modeling just the 4 and 65 hundredths. So I'll start by modeling, I'm going to need a little bit more space here. Start by modeling 4 and 65 hundredths. Here's my 4 ones, my 6 tenths, and my 5 hundredths. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove 1 and 31 hundredths away from my picture. And then what's left will be the final difference. So just like always with addition and subtraction, I'll start with the least place value position. So if I'm subtracting 1 hundredth block away, that means I'll take one of those hundredths pieces off of my board. And then if I have 6 tenths rods, I need to take 3 of those away. So I'll take those 3 tenths rods off of my board. And finally, I need to take away 1 flat. That tells me that the picture I'm left with is my final answer. So that means I have 3 full flats. So I have a 3 in the ones place. I have 3 tenths rods. So I have a 3 in the tenths place. And I have 4 hundredths cubes. So my final answer would be 3 and 34 hundredths. Now, just like with addition, you might be asked to show this on a piece of paper once the blocks are gone. So to model this on paper, you would do it the same way by drawing a picture. You would have your 4 flats to start. You would have 6 tenths rods and 5 little cubes. Now to model this and to show that you are going to be subtracting 1 and 31 hundredths, you'll cross out the pieces that you took off your board physically when you had the actual blocks. So that means I took 1 hundredths cube away, I'll cross off one of those. I took 3 tenths rods away, I'll cross off one of those. And I took 1 flat away, so I'll cross off one of those. That still leaves me with 3 and 34 hundredths. Now let's take a look at another example, but this time I want to show you one where you're going to have to regroup in order to subtract. So just like with addition, regrouping with subtraction means you're going to be trading out some of the different pieces. So let's say I have 2 and 82 hundredths minus 1 and 47 hundredths. Let me leave myself a little space for my answer here. Again, I'm going to start by modeling 2 and 82 hundredths. I'll start with 8 tenths rods and 2 hundredths cubes. But now this time I know that I need to start by taking away 7 hundredths cubes. I don't have 7 orange pieces. So you know from whole number subtraction, that means that you can regroup and trade in pieces from the next place value position. So I'll trade out one of these tenths rods for 10 little hundredths cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I have 12 total hundredths cubes. I can take 7 away from these. So I'm going to take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have my tenths place next, so I need to take away 4 tenths, which I can do with the pieces that I have. So I'll show that being taken away. And then I have 1 flat that needs to be subtracted. So that means that this would be my final answer, which means my final difference would be 1 whole, 3 tenths, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hundredths. Now, if you're asked to draw a picture of that, we can model it just like we would with the blocks. So again, you'll start by drawing 2 flats. You'll draw 8 tenths rods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 2 hundredths cubes. Now, the first thing you needed to do was you needed to show the regrouping. So you're going to first show the regrouping by drawing a group around one of your tenths rods, crossing it out, and bringing an arrow over to create 10 hundredths cubes. So just like you regrouped with addition, going to a greater place value position, you'll regroup with subtraction, going to a lesser place value position. Now you can cross out just like you did before. So I'll cross out 7 of these pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to cross out 4 tenths rods. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I need to cross out 1 flat. That still leaves me with 1 and 35 hundredths. So that's how you would model decimal subtraction using base 10 blocks or by drawing a picture to show what your base 10 models would look like. Thanks for watching, everyone.